Strategy Jumpstart, and the idea is to help people that are starting for the first time, get off on a very good foot. And for those that have been there, some of their frustration can be, you know, addressed as well. I have brief on Blessing. Blessing is a leading woman in the sector of branding and communication in Africa, helping brands discover their unique identity so they can tell better stories. She's the co-founder of Ingressive for Good, an edtech non-profit, and the earning power of African youth through tech. She was also the former CEO and co-founder of Disha, acquired by an African unicorn, Flutterwave. As a leader, nurtures a community of over 50,000 creators of branding, communications, and tech. Excellent about who Blessing is. In many ways, she is a very excellent woman, at least from my own observation.
Thank you so much for having me, Sochi. Oh, I said thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
For being here. One of the notifications I get from LinkedIn every other week or month is Blessing. The consistency is just fire for me. All right, so next panelist here is Mofe Ade. Mofe Ade is a brand strategist and designer with over 7 years of experience in creating clarity and direction for brands and designing experiences that achieve their goals. While he does branding company Creatos Studio for multinational companies, SMEs, and personal brands. Also on a mission of impacting 100 million African brands and thus shares relevant brand knowledge regularly. Authored 2 books, the last being about personal brand. So very glad to have you here in our midst today, Mofe. One thing I have to say about Mofe is that Mofe is probably the tallest person on this group right now.
What's that? Why are you firing shots so early? That comes later.
Yeah. Humble, but very intimidating at the same time.
Thanks for having me, Soji.
I'm very happy to have you here.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet everyone here. Hello,
Joining
everyone.
us this morning.
Hi.
So, next is Felix is a brand strategist, designer, and founder of Brand Solute, a Nigerian-based strategy agency and content creator with over 72,000 followers across multiple platforms. The mission is to educate people and leaders about brand power and help bold companies and organizations find and amplify stage. He works as a content creator for Moto, a global award-winning branding agency in New York. Brand strategist and designer for Brand Solute. Very glad to have you. I've not met in person, but I've seen a lot of him, especially on Instagram, very insightful content around branding and brand strategy. One of the voices that stand out to me, around the subject. Thank you very much for being here with us this morning as well.
Thank you, Soji. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Good to hear back from panelist is going to be joining us very soon. He's here. I would introduce him formally as well. So the first thing we're going to be talking about this morning is your story. Questions. I would just like to start So my first question is, as possible, get into strategy. What's your strategy story? How did you find branding and decide this, So can you give us to that?
Okay. I think branding found me. I started off writing business plans back then. And when I would write business plans, everyone had great things to say about the marketing side of my business plans. And they started to pay me money to do it. And so I think it became very obvious to a lot of people that, yes, I was super creative, but I was also a great operator. I knew how to run a business. Like, it was a good balance. So having the magic and the logic just sort of made sense, but it wasn't formed yet. It was like in its early stages. I think a friend walked up to me and it's like, Blessing, have you heard about branding? This thing you do, it's not really far from it. Yes, it's like, I mean, these are business plans and stuff, but there is a whole world possible in branding. I Googled it. It wasn't popular then. And I was like, wow, okay, this sounds like something that I would really like. So I saved up money, moved to a whole new city, which is Lagos, and, went to Orange Academy, learned branding for almost a year. And I started to work at an agency. I thought that I would be, more communications than branding, but my first job was as a strategist. And I had to mix that as a strategist with, not my first job in life, but my first job in the industry was as a strategist. And I had to do that in combination with being a comms person. I was the only person on my team that had dual roles because of my ability to put together a good strategy. And of course, practice, practice, practice. I got better. Practice. I got better. I refined. I kept things that I liked, and then I let go of things that I didn't quite like. Hi, Sheifumi. We can hear your whole conversation. But yeah, so that's how I stumbled on brand strategy, and I've been doing it ever since until this very moment.
I never knew you didn't used to live in Lagos anyway, so that's interesting to find out.
Thanks.
People that move from a village to Lagos.
That's a compliment because it took me a while to acclimatize. The movement, it shook me to the core, but now people think I'm a Lagos babe, so it means that I did something right.
So where did you used to live then before you moved to Lagos?
Wow, my whole business outside. All right. So so first I used to live in Jos, then we moved to Abuja. And then I lived in Abuja for a bit, actually for a long time, longer than anywhere else. And then I moved to Imo, Owerri for a bit, and then used Owerri as the buffer before moving to Lagos. It was interesting.
Just Abuja, Owerri, Lagos.
Yes, and the beautiful part of it is like I was always an Abuja girl. I don't really think I really fit in Owerri. So I had to, moving to Lagos was like a big shock. Also, because like I'm a woman, and as an African girl, it's not your parents' first choice. It's not a lot of parents' first choice for their daughters to live alone independently in a city as chaotic as Lagos. One of my most profound experience was when I was jumping bus. A lot of people don't know that I ever jumped bus in my life, but please, I jumped bus. I was dipped in Lagos. They've scammed me. Everything has happened to me. And when I was jumping bus, I think I was going to stop at Palm Grove bus stop. And I was like, I'm stopping at Palm Grove because I was like, I'm stopping at Palm Grove. And everybody on the bus took it as an excuse to educate me. And they were like, it's not Palm Grove, it's Mangrove. And they passed my bus stop on purpose to immerse that knowledge. It was a chaotic day, but when I knew that I was fully immersed in Lagos was after I fought with not fight, but I argued with a conductor and I won. So I was like, yeah, I'm here now.
It's great to have you in Lagos. I hope you stay long enough or much longer. I'm going to move to Mofe right now. Yes, please, let's have you, Mofe. Tell us your Lagos online. So that will give us a different perspective. But yes, go ahead, Mofe, please.
Okay, thank you. I'm not going to. I have a story similar to Blessings on that bus stop stuff and all, but I'm going to reserve that for later. Blessing, I'll tell you in person later. So the journey to strategy wasn't quite straightforward as well. Since when I was little, I've always loved building, right? Building things, Lego blocks, stuff like that. All through school, I always find time to like read, draw, build things. And I ended up going to school. I started to study building. Shock. I was very shocked to discover that that was not the building they were talking about. They're actually talking about like physical buildings. But unfortunately, I'd already entered, I'd already been admitted already. I ended up studying something a bit different from what I had in mind. But I did my time, I studied everything that came out. But while in school, I was working part-time with an agency, started with social media agency, then to a media marketing agency, then to a TV agency, media agency. Was going through like different companies and all. Started doing websites at the side professionally because I started doing websites in secondary school. Then I started doing professionally when I entered uni. And when we're doing design, I noticed that a lot of design when it comes to brand is usually powered by strategy. And due to the various places that I worked at and the experience I gathered, I ended up saying that, oh, I'm actually good at this. Then why not? Why can't I charge for this? And I said, oh, okay, the next person has to do brand identity design. I'm going to add strategy to it. Then I did it, and person paid, and it was beautiful.
Progress.
We've seen this strategy in action. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I did freelance. Then until we evolved, I evolved into Crypto Studios, and we've been doing it as Crypto Studios for the past 3 years, and it's been beautiful. So that's the journey. Scatter, but we're here already, and we're thank God.
I think connecting to your story right now, one thing that Blessing also said is that branding found me, which is similar to like what you just described. Like there's no person that there was branding in a place like Orange Academy where you could actually go and officially learn what you needed to know about branding. But I think for most people, it was not even that. But yeah. So interesting story. At least that is a theme that has been established. Let's see. That's to say. And it's a story.
Hi, everyone. I think I probably have a different story from Blessing and Mofe. I started out as a graphic designer, like pushing pixels around. You know how it goes. I remember taking a job from someone that wanted to design a Nike shoe, and I told him, you know what, I'm going to design this incredible. The person never came back to today. So yeah, graphic design was the first passion. Then I niched into branding. I was just kind of fascinated by branding, creating logos, crafting logos, building identities. That was really interesting to me. And I dove into that. But then I realized it was not just coming together. Like you would do a job for a client, and what they would base their decision on then was only on aesthetics, like how it looks to them, like what they are feeling from the whole thing. It didn't just feel right with me at the point. And this was 2019-ish. And I just knew that was the time to move into strategy. And that was the era where I don't know if a lot of you guys might know guys like Melinda Lipsey, where those people kind of popularized the fact that you can sell your thinking for like $10,000, which was quite interesting. Although I wasn't flipped by that. I just wanted to learn something more than just like building logos. I wanted my stories, I wanted my presentation to have more meaning. And so yeah, I moved into strategy. Even I think I'm proud to say I'm a self-taught strategist, because a lot of my learnings were as a result of being curious, reading resources, taking a lot of courses here and there, a lot of times self-doubting my knowledge, even when I started working with clients and like building strategies, it was like mad, But I got to a point where I felt like, okay, yeah, this is it. This is it. And my personal brand on Instagram kind of started as an offshoot of me learning or me sharing what I'm learning. I don't know if you scroll through my profile, like my early posts, I was just like sharing stuff. It was a way to kind of validate what I'm learning, and also kind of, and at the point, I felt like there's also like a huge gap in the space back then. A lot of people don't really know about it. And yes, I remember when I got my first strategy clients, we spent like 7 hours on call. You know why? We're just like spinning days, just like asking questions, going to resources, everything. But it was really interesting because at the end of the day, we were both clear on what we were there to do. And for me, it was like, oh wow, this is how it looks like. Okay, this is good. So yeah, now I do, and that was why I started Brand Salute. It was supposed to be a strategy, probably 70% strategy and 10% design, because I so much love strategy, because that is the point where you are able to shape brands. That is the point where you are able to build the foundation, and that is super necessary. Most startups will not realize the importance of strategy, or some companies, but when you get to some stages, like probably you've gone through your seed or series A, you start to realize, oh wow, we need a strategy. We need something to move on. We are hitting the roadblock. We need something to kind of like guide our actions or our steps moving forward. So yeah, that's important. So yeah, I'm here. Been doing strategy for like 3-4 years now. I think 4 years now. And yeah, it's really been an interesting journey. So yeah. Okay.
Your story is interesting. I think I would summarize it as, curiosity also led you here somehow, and
Yeah.
curiosity and desire to do something, at a higher level,
Yeah.
which is another
Absolutely.
interesting spin to the story. What I'd like to ask all the panelists is, what's your original background? Maybe like what you studied in school. Um, so yeah, I was just introducing Opeyemi before what took my voice, but here we are. Over the last 8 years, Opeyemi has worked with founders and their teams to tell stories across mediums, define purpose and values, and build templates that help them connect with their target audience. His broad spectrum experience in print, radio, digital platforms makes him a standout partner of choice in telling brand stories across different channels. This includes running workshops and sprints to identify brand tones and messaging, and creating blueprints that help you connect with your target audience compellingly. What I have to go home with today. Sometimes it helps to build tangible relationships between you and your people, that's your employees, stakeholders, customers, and everyone in between, using content. It's good to have you here amongst us today, Opeyemi.
Hi, Soji. Hi, Blessing. Hi, Felix. Hi, Mofe. Okay, yeah. Hi, everybody. Yeah. I don't have a question. I just said it's good to have you, so I just greeted everybody.
Go ahead, Opeyemi. Let's know your brand story. At least you've given us a hint from your introduction. We need to hear it from the horse's mouth.
I still get shy whenever that thing is read. I think for me, what happened, everybody here, they had like good stories. Me, I was broke. That's why I found brand strategy. I mean, I was very broke, like really broke. Like, I was an extremely talented human, but it was not reflecting in my pocket. And I think it was 2019. And I just sat down one day and I said, wait, I cannot continue to live my life like this. I think one of these days, maybe like in 10 years, when I have like $1 billion, I will auction that notepad I just sat down. I think the Forces studio was already in Ibadan. And I sat down and I did what I now do for companies for myself. I sat down and I asked myself, who am I? What do I stand for? What are the core values that guide me? Who are like the images of the people I want to be like? How do I want to sound? What is going to be my personality? What are all the things that I can do excellently well? And what is that one thing that connects everything? What are my weaknesses? What are my strengths? What are the strengths that come from my weaknesses? And what are the weaknesses that come from my strengths, right? It was that detailed and I did it. And one of the things that was an offshoot of that conversation was I wrote down all the things I could do amazingly well, having worked in radio for 3 years, newspaper for 2 years, digital magazine for about 2, then working in an agency for about 4. I was like, what is that one thing that connects all the things I've done? And I started calling myself a brand storyteller. I think that was in 2019, and there were not a lot of people calling themselves brand storyteller at that time. And I think 4 months after was supposed to be my birthday, and I think it was January, and let me say 80 to 85% of the people who wished me happy birthday had storyteller at the back of their wishes. In my head, it meant that I designed something. I designed how I wanted to be known. And in about 4 to 6 months, people started seeing me as that, and people started paying me to be that, right? And for me, that was my journey into brand strategy, because I kind of like now realized what it was called, that what I was doing for myself was the basic level of brand storytelling. I mean, when I do it these days, I look at the fact that your strategy document contains core values, personality, key messages, vision, mission, brand elements. Like, that was all I did for myself, right? I defined who I wanted to be known as, defined the things that are going to get me there, and it happened. And I mean, I just started doing what I did for myself, and it worked. I mean, and I started doing it for companies. So most of the times when imposter syndrome sometimes knocks on my door, I say, oh, wait, calm down. I did it for myself. It worked. I'm still here. So let's continue to do it, right? I mean, and I think that's my own story of getting into brand strategy. Yeah.
Story, you were broke, but you were not broken.
If you put it like that, my pastor.
That's beautiful to hear. And I think one thing I picked from what you just said is like, you call yourself, or what you call yourself is what other people call you. Everybody on this, panel, one way or the other has something they call themselves. I think in a very short time, you can almost start to associate, that thing to them. Like I know Einstein, she's obviously a very, very smart lady. And so she believes she's a genius. And I'm sure many of our clients agree. That's why they hire her. I know Mofe is the brand guy. Always a very beautiful way sometimes to, establish your identity, like, doing what exactly you do for other people, doing it for yourself. Okay. So I think I'll move to my next question now. Question has to do with highs and lows of entering strategy or being in strategy so far. So one of the reasons why this question is important is we need to be able to realistic expectations to those that are trying to enter strategy. Know exactly what they are getting involved into, and then if it's something that is fit for them, or something to think about again. So yeah, I'm going to start from Einstein. That's Blessing. I would like to share your highs and lows of like being a strategist.
Okay, I think one of the biggest highs is the clarity that my clients get, like just being able to hear or see the transformation between their lives when they first meet me and then later, literally few months later, they can like see the difference. Sometimes even just right after a call, it's like something is taking off their eyes and they're seeing things so differently. So that's always very helpful, because sometimes you meet your clients for the first time and they're like, you're asking questions like, oh, what's your target audience? And they're like, everybody. We want to reach everybody. And I'm like, oh, even children that they just give birth to, is that also your target audience? They buy your product, and also being able to simply break it down in a way that they don't feel stupid for not knowing, but they feel like it's a safe space and they can share. That's always a high all the time. Being able to charge a lot of the people on this, okay, 2 people on this call. Mofe, I don't know, do you design? I feel like you probably know how to use Photoshop and stuff. I know how to do a website. I have design eyes, but I would probably not design anywhere outside of Canva. Like if you see me on Figma, I'm dropping comments. I'm not designing for anybody, but just being able to, as in for people to pay me, knowing that I'm not going to design shit for them, but they're going to get clarity and they see that value is worth it, is great. Lows would be, I really can't think of a low, to be honest. I think just like a thing that I wish was better was like encountering people who don't understand what brand strategy is, but then that always turns into a high because I take it as an opportunity to educate them. So it's not necessarily like a low for me. Also interestingly would be clients who say, but you're not even going to give me a logo. Why are you charging me money? That's interesting, not a low. I also take it as an opportunity to educate. I'm always happy to refer people. When people even price me, like that has become a positive experience for me as well. It's like when I'm like, this is my price, and they're like, no, why are you charging this amount, blah, 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 blah. I don't even get one bit upset. I'm not angry. I'm not offended. I'm just like, oh, I understand. And, I know a couple of people, like I can refer people who would be happy to do it at XYZ price, but I'm not the one for you. And just being able to say that, being able to say no to things that don't align, to prices that don't align, but not in a way that breaks the bridges, in a way that connects them to someone else who probably needs it at this time. That's also very transformational. The low would probably be that it's very demanding. It takes a lot from us, our brain, our time, our effort. It's demanding, but it's worth it. So I can't really think of it. Maybe when I'm hearing everybody else's low and they say it and I can read it, I'll be like, yeah, sticking out right now.
Felix, would you share your highs and lows? Let's see if anyone would resonate with Blessing, or Blessing will resonate with any of them.
All right. One of my, because when I thought about the question, we saying that I had a lot of thinking, like, okay, the biggest I in this job, when you say strategy, is the excitement, the joy that your clients get whenever they do strategy. Nigerian clients, I've worked with a couple, they are like, what is strategy? But at the end of the day, I could actually remember one where she sent me an email and she was just going on and on about the amount of information or the amount of clarity that she gained regarding our business. Like it was just exciting. So those kind of moments kind of reinforces the impact of what we do for clients. And yes, to me, those are my very biggest eyes because of course you want your customers or you want your client to feel the impact, right? I keep coming to the word, the impact of strategy. The lows, just like Blessing said, I don't know, like I can't think of any, but it's more on me, for me personally, it's more on the personal side, where on some days you're like doubting your frameworks. I don't know if that's happened to any of the panelists. Like you're thinking, okay, is this thing appropriate for this person? Like, and at the end of the strategy session, you're thinking, what is it? And it's and also it's not something that's really very much appreciated. And I'm super glad when you are kind of organizing this program. Like it's something that's really needed. Like a lot of people don't appreciate it. I've had instances where clients was like, okay, let's remove the strategy. Let's just do the design. You get, so those kind of moments are really like, they are really crazy moments where you think, it shouldn't be that much. So yeah, for now, yeah, I think these are my experiences so far.
I'll just jump ship to Mofe real quick.
Okay.
Eyes on you.
Highs and lows. I think the biggest eye will have to be taking a person or a business from the point where they say, I have no competition, to giving them their exact competition. That's the biggest eye. Right? Why would you say you don't have competition? Even Coke has competition. So I think that's the biggest win for me. And of course, I think strategy and design is closest you ever be to being like a god, right? Because you literally work with people to bring something from thin air, and you see it in the market. That's the biggest eye for me. The low, I think the biggest low will have to be the effort that is required, like for you to actually work with clients, to especially when they don't see the importance, just as Funsho said, of strategy, that effort that you need to work with them, especially when you look at strategy that happens over months, right? Where you've done your research, you've done your analysis, you understand, and everything. That can be quite stressful, especially when you have like simultaneous projects at the same time. So remembering to do this while doing this, and at the same time being able to see the big picture. Like imagine being like Doctor Strange, right? You have like, I just this is like all possible things. It can be quite stressful, right? I think that's just biggest load. That's drain and all. Yeah.
So, okay, before I make my general comment here about your responses. So apart from being being broke was your start. That's not the, let me let you speak.
That's a low, very big low. So I mean, I'm just realizing that the people here are very good people. Like, I mean, Blessing is even a better person, helping to help people understand. My God, we are very good. I think for me, my high would be, I think one day I finished a strategy document for someone, and the woman went, "How did you know about my business this way? And how did you present something as if you were in my mind? This must have been a gift." I'm like, okay, thank you very much. I think that was a good high. Another high would be seeing the project in real time, especially those very few ones that are able to translate strategy documents into real life actions, right? I think those are the highs, because I will start my lows with, you can finish everything in this world and do the documents, and you are happy and excited. And the first expression of that document is south of the north of what you presented. And the best part of it is they said they understood what you said. Any question? No question. Can we go on and execute this now? And you are having heartache because, yes, this is how emotional it is for me to express it, because it is usually very painful, because some of your best strategy documents are not some of your best works to make reference to. And it's worse because, and it's sad because you know how much effort went into producing that document, or when you worked with a stakeholder, right, to create a document, and the people executing it were not in the conversations you had with the stakeholder, and then they now begin to execute it in a new understanding. Like, where did that come from? Then another low, because I mean, it's a low because again, I knew how lowly I felt when I felt when I realized these things is that I began to realize how much a lot of my work as a strategist hinges on other people, right? It meant that a good strategy can be scattered by a bad designer, right? A good strategy can be battered by a bad marketer. A good strategy can be disorganized by bad HR personnel. And realizing that strategy in itself is not enough was a low for me because I really just wanted to focus on doing X and not need to do Y. But now I've found the closest thing that is natural to me that I can add strategy to. So, I mean, I can't design for anything, right? But again, I can do comms. So I'm now combining branding, right, strategy and communications to kind of like ensure that I have a level of control on results. So I think getting to that point where, at least for local contexts, internationally, you can just focus on strategy and just like, yeah. But when it comes to local clients, I finished the document before and they're like, this is all. I'm like, yes, it's all. Or you kind of like present how the whole project is going to go and you put your charge on there and they're like, wait, you mean this is all you're going to give us? I'm like, that is all. I'm sorry. I mean, so like Blessing says, she refers people. I don't even refer anymore, but if you are good. If you are not good, we're all in this together. We'll be supporting you from the sidelines. I mean, because yes, so those are some of like, then I think another low for me is, what is that personal lows, but maybe it can help someone else, is how much sometimes as humans, I'm growing out of this, and I think I've grown out of it a bit. We can get so close to our work because of how much we invest into doing that work, and someone just batters it anyhow. I will. Separating your self-worth from your work is an important part of a brand strategist that most times we really do not talk about. It's not all logic when you're doing strategy documents. There's a lot of heart going into it. And that is why you get to see their brand strategists are usually so connected to their clients, because they just want to do something that really amazing. And like, if you hit almost everybody's highs, their high is getting to ensure that or see that the customer gets to do things exactly how it was designed. So a low is definitely not saying that customer gets to do it. And sometimes if you're not very strong, you may be attaching your self-worth to the fact that you did not do well to make people see things that way. And I think that is something I struggled with for a bit. But I think I'm in a better place, right? Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay, so in summary, like from what everybody has said here, the highs are, that's godlike mode where you come in and things start, like there's revelation on place, things your clients who was the business cannot even see. You start to see it and you start to interpret what to do about it. Like Mofe said, yes, that's very godlike. The fact that you can enter a place and like someone with a Midas touch and everything you touch, magic. And the highs that everybody also talked about is the fact that being able to impact the effort you have made, materialize. Lows here with clients and their understanding, their reception of what you do, and their follow-up on what you do. But one thing I wanted to ask as a follow-up to this is, seems to be a distinction between Nigerian clients and international clients. Maybe it would be useful to answer that alongside my next line of questions. So you can just, put that in your notes. I want to ask about now is highs and the lows. What has been your biggest lesson? Like your single biggest lesson that you have learned as strategies that you're going to take with you for a long time, or you will tell someone else who's about to start, on the same path. Yeah, so I'll start with Blessing once again.
Okay, so let's start with, hey, Opeyemi has finally shown us his fresh face. I was going to call you out. Okay.
Someone called him out in the session. Okay, carry on.
So that person was the person that made me do this, but
I'm excited. Nice to see you again. All right, so it started with the disconnect between international clients and, global clients and, home clients. I think it depends on the status of people that you're targeting. I don't think it's necessarily like a Nigerian versus others thing. I think it's an exposure thing, because I've also seen international clients that are not exposed enough to have enough information, and so they will still give you a headache. There's also the fact that based on our currency, we're relatively cheaper than what is attainable outside. So some people come with the knowing that we're cheaper, and so they are more receptive because they know if they had to go back to their own countries, especially if people are from like the US or the UK, they have to go back to their own countries to go and price the same quality of work, they would pay higher, right? So what Chris would have charged them $100,000 for, Mofe would probably do it for 10K. And so they would come here and be more.
in defense of Mofe, no, it's not 10K. Mofe is 50K.
I said, for example, I know that that's what Mofe is charging. I didn't say, for example, okay, Ope, 10K, come and beat me. I'm joking. I'm joking. But yeah, so they just know that it's so much more affordable compared to their country, and it's easier for us to do it at that affordable rate because there are things that we don't have to pay attention to. So our taxes are lower, our cost of living is relatively lower as well. Percentages and things that we're supposed to charge for consultancy fee, cost of renting places, all of it is so much lower. So we can afford to charge a lower fee. It doesn't mean that the value of our work is low. It just means that we're more affordable. And so because we're more affordable, sometimes they treat us with respect. Sometimes exposure plays a role. There's so many factors, to be honest. But I think you can decide. One of the things that I have done that has made a big difference in my life is being able to choose my clients. So not everybody who reaches out to me, whether or not they have money, is my client. And I don't honor everybody. Like, even if you're bringing the money and everything, I don't honor everybody. I even put the limit to how many strategies I would do in a quarter. I remember when Soji reached out to me, he didn't even know that I could do brand strategy. It was like, I would consider you a brand strategist. I'm like, you don't mean it. But I limit the number of strategies that I do. I limit the number of clients that I do. I do have a waiting list. I don't take everybody. I interview my clients sometimes just to be sure that we are aligned. It's just, I realized that there were clients that I would work with. They would pay me huge chunks of money, but they would still send me spa tickets. That, Blessing, go to the spa, you've worked. They would still take me out for dates and be like, Blessing, it was so great, this thing you did. And this is minus the money that they've paid me. But then earlier in my life, there were clients that would pay me and still feel like I'm supposed to be following up. I'm supposed to be overwatching all of the execution and everything. It's like the work will not finish forever as long as their company is alive. So I've been able to just sort of clearly communicate. So I think the learning points here are, I've been able to clearly define what I don't want and what I want, but that has come from me being able to experience the kiss all the frogs to find my princes. I think that's the way to put it. I've also been able to clearly communicate. I've been able to clearly say no and yes without necessarily burning bridges. And so I've also been able to clearly define the kind of people that I want to work with, the kind of sectors that I want to be interested in, the kind of people whose values align. There's people who have a lot of money, but their values, they're only doing this brand strategy for probably clout or for very, very interesting reason. They just want to say that, oh, who's Blessing's face on their pitch deck to say Blessing was one of our team. I don't even, like, people have done crazy things to raise money. And so I'm very careful, and I really pay attention to people's values. I also pay attention to people's intent. I'm not saying that if you're just starting, this is something you should go outside and do. I feel like you should try, experiment, experience things so you can define what it is that you want and what it is that you don't want. So pivoting from that, I think the second question was, hey, what's the second question? The main question, sorry.
Question, your biggest lesson so far?
Biggest lessons. Okay, so of course, all the things I just said are part of the biggest lessons. But interesting things would be, I don't think, when I first started my strategies, my branding career, I shared the story many times. I used to get angry a lot, like when people would come and meet me and say, Blessing, come and help me do strategy or something, then I'm trying to help you do it. You now hold my, it's almost like graphic designers, right? They hold your hand and be drawing the thing that they want you to. It's like exactly how we want it. Or they will just keep saying no, but they're not giving reasonable feedback. And so I used to form the opinion that clients don't know what they want. And I realized that I was wrong. I also realized that I was being proud. Wrong and proud because I felt my way or the highway because I'm an expert. I was wrong. Truth is, clients know what they want. They just struggle to articulate it. And it's our jobs as experts to ask the right questions that are revealing of their intent. So this might sound like a hard pill to swallow, but I found out that the best innovation happens when you take what your client wants, no matter how difficult it sounds, and take what you want and merge it, where both of you are getting exactly what it is you want, or you're both making concessions to make something beautiful that you both will be proud of. Like, you can't go and force something down your client's throat because you're an expert. And you can't make them force something down your throat because they're the client. So you guys have to work together to come up with something. I remember a client one time, we did a brand strategy, suggested I worked with a visual, because I used to have a team, I had a whole agency and stuff. So I worked with my visual team member to come up with 3 logo options based on the strategy that she has already approved, right? And she said no. She just kept saying no. She was just like, no. I'm like, do we agree to the brand strategy point? She's like, yes. So what's wrong with the visual? Because like, this visual is reflective of this strategy. I was like, no. And initially I was going to get upset and return her money, which is something I've done before, which is not necessarily the best way to go. Yeah, the times that I return clients, now if I return a client's money, I don't burn the bridge. Like, I'm very upfront and I explain, and it has to be like something really serious that we go to the point where I've said yes to you, then now I have to say no to you, right? So I break it down and we don't burn bridges. But and I'm not saying it's wrong to burn bridges. I'm just saying that's me. I'm trying not to burn bridges. Anyway, but coming back to the point, she kept saying no, and I'm like, so I was going to get upset and be like, maybe I'm not the one to do this thing for you. Maybe I should recommend somebody else because you have said no plenty times, 3 times the lot. But I paused for a second and I'm like, maybe she's struggling to articulate what it is that she wants. So let me ask better questions. So I started to ask, okay, is it the color? Is it the shape? Is it this? Because on a global front, when you put this logo beside 5 other logos within the same frame, it stands out, it looks good, it works, like you look like a global brand. What's the problem? And it was by asking more and more questions, I must have asked 10 questions, that I found out that the color was reminding her of a brand that she was trying to forget. So imagine that I had choked that logo back because I'm an expert. I'm going to leave her stuck with something that she would forever hate, be unable to tell me why she hates it, probably be unable to tell herself why she hates it. She doesn't know that she hates it. And the real reason she hated it was the color. And she also wanted something that was going to remind her of her mother's memory. And just helping her see that, okay, maybe we don't have to put your mother's favorite flower in this logo, but we could put her favorite color or that flower's color so that it is embodying your mother. And this color also resonates with what we had talked about in our brand strategy, right? So it works. And that was so revealing. She ended up really, really loving the output at the end of the day, just because we spent some time together, figuring it out together. And I spent some time, I was patient enough to ask better questions. So as brand strategist, you also have to be a great communicator. You also have to be patient. You need to know how to ask better questions. One of my worst quotes is the one that Ford guy said. He said, if I'd asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. And I'm like, you're a terrible listener, because the only thing they could explain at that time, the only thing that they can visualize at that time are horses. All they're telling you is that they want to get from point A to point B faster. So if you make them bicycles, airplanes, speeding, like whatever it is, and think about things that help people move faster. Tricycle, bicycle, keke, everything. People are willing to pay money because they want to get from point A to point B faster. And the faster that they can get there, the more money they're willing to pay. So your ability to listen to what is said and what is unsaid, very, very important. And so that's a very important skill that I think more of us need to have. We need to be more patient with our audience. We need to spend some time educating those who are willing to be educated, asking clarifying questions, asking better questions, and not feeling like we know it all. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I like that angle you used to tackle this quote by Ford. I didn't think about it that way. But it's very accurate, it's very correct, because some things are not said that you have to be able to catch as well. So maybe Okpe doesn't mind burning bridges. So Okpe, what is the biggest lesson you very quick?
I'm a people person, so I don't like burning bridges. That's why I don't create the ones I can burn. So I just save myself the stress. So I just for the sake of national peace. Same question, right?
Biggest lesson. Maybe briefly your experience with Nigerian clients and maybe international clients.
I'm a patriotic Nigerian. I don't know how to answer the second question. But I mean, so let me speak for the people that still like money. Although I think I need like some of Blessing's clients, especially those ones that send spa vouchers. You can share, I will assist you. I don't mind. I'm not a nomenclature person. You can make me intern strategies. You can put that like, I will do it. I still like, so because I think one of the biggest problems that I had, which would be where I will start, is, and which I think is a general problem for creatives, is understanding the value of our work and being able to charge for it. And so most times, maybe we are rejecting people too early, right? Or you assume that because Blessing has rejected, now you're not going to reject, so yeah, just start. So like it's just really important that we understand where we are. And I think the most important thing for any creative, even like a brand strategist, is understanding the value of money and understanding how to charge for your time. Which is one of the reasons, which is what I'm going to connect to the whole local and international clients. I think I struggled with, so I'm going very personal in my answers. I struggled with complex, especially with dealing with the kind of clients in Nigeria that we're going to pay, right? And so it was easy to do international clients because I felt that I needed to be some kind of a person to be able to charge Nigerian clients that kind of money, right? And so that whole process was because looking at it now, seeing how Blessing explained it, it makes a whole lot of sense, right? But then I was like, I need to have X, Y, Z. I need to maybe, because before I'm working for a tier 1 bank. But the first tier one bank I did work for, I mean, I didn't even have to do work. At the end of the day, these are some of the bubbles I now bust for myself because I'm like, someone just called me, call, that's all. That's all, right? I think that your ability to sell your process is one thing a lot of us are still lacking. And so it is easier to settle for someone who is not asking you a lot of questions. And most times that's where the international people come, because they have a little bit of an understanding, they have a little bit of the understanding of the value they are coming for. It's easier to sell to them. But it's harder to sell to the people here because you have to tell them why a 6-page document is all they need. Why is it a 6-page document? I'm paying you 7 figures in Naira. Why are you just giving me 6 pages of document? If I pay that to a designer, we get logo, brand guideline, color, everything. And you want me to give you 6 figures in Naira for a strategy document? So I think that is it. My biggest lesson so far is that, so that I just answer the next person can go, is that I think you just need to learn how to value yourself. And if you cross that bridge, right, a whole lot of your work as a strategist will fall into place. You know why? Because the quality of the answers you can get from a client is dependent on how you see yourself. You can't push back. If you feel this job, if it goes, hungry will kill you. You will just be accepting everything. Like, you can't push back. And again, if you think that, oh, this question is personal, if I ask it like this client can just get angry and go, you won't ask the question. You won't get the best, because strategy is a function of information collected. You can't do anything better than what you have been able to glean from a client, right? And so your self-worth, confidence, value, because there was one time, and this is Victor's story to share. Well, there was one time we wanted to charge a client for something, and we put one very high money. Very high money, because at that point, at that time in our life, it was high money. We were looking for things to put in the line items. No, this one was enter. Oh, this one was, we were looking for things to put in, so that by the time we are going to present the number, we are sure that we have done stuff. Then I saw some people, they will just put only 2 line items, and they will be charging what we made in a year once, and it's 2. They will not say anything. It just means that they have been able to do other things to be able to convince people beyond their invoice, right? That is the difference between a lot of people. I mean, if nobody really knows you and nobody can vouch for you, your invoice will have to be doing a lot of the talking. These days, if you like, I mean, that's now, for the sake of now, although there are now some things again that maybe complex we enter, maybe there are some numbers I now want to go to now, but at least now I'm content. Maybe in the next 3 months, I will lack contentment and I will enter a new level. Well, at the moment, I'm content and I like what I'm doing, and some numbers don't scare me anymore. But maybe like in the next couple of months, I will lack contentment, and maybe I want to be like Mofe or Funsho or like Blessing. I mean, but at the moment, I have contentment, but I also lack it.
I'm just right beside you. Let me move on to Funsho, and then I'll move on to Mofe right after. So, what is the biggest lesson you've learned so far, amongst the highs and lows that you've experienced?
Okay. Do I need to talk about the international, the local thing?
Except,
Okay. Yeah.
really need to talk about it. Please go ahead. I'm just trying to manage time now.
Okay, good. Blessing and Bemiro has explained a lot of things that kind of with that notion. We all know that the international folks can spend more. Their value, their currency carry more weight, and they probably understand. They're a first world or probably second world. I'll still say Nigeria is a third world. So it's likely that even in the valuation, even in the exposure, there is this big gap. So that is that. My biggest lesson, I would say, is you have to trust your gut when you're doing strategy. And I think that's my key thing. While most people are starting, you are going to be exposed to a lot of frameworks. You are going to be exposed to a lot of information. Your vision, the mission, everything, name it. You're going to be exposed to. In fact, you hear some terminologies and be like, do I need to figure this out for my clients? It's crazy. Brand equity. No, you don't need it for now. So the thing is, you are going to be exposed to a lot of information. So you need to just go with the basics and always trust your gut. But you can't trust your gut if you are not a big picture person. As a strategist, I think one of the things that kind of differentiates us from other people, like I think it was a discourse on LinkedIn back then, like what really makes you a strategist? Is it because of the document that you create? Is it because of the workshops that you do? At the end of the day, it's more about your gifts, which is, I think it's innate to actually see the bigger picture, right? While you're doing workshop with your clients, you can already say, okay, this is good, this is good. And when you are creating this strategy, you like can picture the whole thing. And that is where you now come and present it to the clients, and they too can kind of see the whole angle. So you have to be able to trust your gut, number one. Go with the basics. You don't need so much things for your strategy documents. As you build yourself, you learn that, okay, this thing is needed in my kits. Okay, this thing is not needed. Like, I'm sure that a lot of the panelists too, you are going to probably, in like 2 years after I just started, you're going to look at your site like, is this thing even necessary? Because at the end of the day, it's more about learning. It's more about like improving your knowledge too, or like improving your kids too as a strategy. So biggest lesson is learn to trust yourself, right? Trust your God, and also hone your big picture skill. I think that's very important, because at the end of the day, you are going to need it. You are going to have to explain your strategy in like a sentence. You know, what's the point? So that's very important. So yeah, those are my biggest takeaways so far.
That's develop your ability to see the big picture and communicate that big picture as well. All right, so I'll move to Mofe now. All the big money people. So Mofe, what's your biggest lesson?
I was trying to jot that down. I don't have one biggest lesson, but to save to save tears of people in this call, tears down the line, I'm going to write. I'm just going to mention two, right? So firstly, if you're a strategist, that you've worked on more than one brief that they give you money for, or you've worked with somebody and the person has come back, trust me, you're a badass already. To be a strategist is not easy. You are good already, right? So know that first of all, and don't shake. Now, you need to look yourself in the mirror and have a clear picture of how strong you are. Once you do that, you'll be very grounded. Don't lie to yourself. Don't feed your ego, right? Know how good you are. Look at the big picture, just as Funsho said, right? Now, one little mind shift, which is related to what Blessing said a bit, is to see yourself as you are already badass. So don't, how do I say this? Don't try to feed your ego by forcing your ideas down the client's throats. Everybody knows you are good. That's why the clients came to you. You need to see yourself as the master steward. That's it. Your job is to guide what the client is doing. You take it, what the client wants, what the client is building for wants, and you merge two of them together and you create a new thing, right? That's your work. Just guide them through all the loopholes and everything. That's it. You're the master steward. Now, there's one thing that you need to take away from this is this. If we finish this class, right, and you go out and you want to get food, right, for to get lunch, for instance, and you run into someone that's very fine girl, fine guy, sweet, all looking, smelling like okwe, all good and everything, and you say, wow, I like this person. No, I just tell the person, please, let's get married. And you just go down to the courts and you put like the wedding ring, everything. I just tell your friend, Omo, I just ran into this babe, I ran into this guy, I just got married. I just tell your best friend. Like, bro, like, are you okay? Personally, I know what I would do. I'll literally go and I'll go and take the person and I'll go and check the person into like it's a mental hospital to like, oh, is my friend okay? Is my friend actually okay? No one will do that, right? So why would the client come and meet you? And the client will say, want to do this, I want to do this. And the next thing you do is send an invoice and collect payment. You need to there's a courtship period, right? Before you start. If you can do that, trust me, 99% of your problems will be solved, right? So you need to sit down and see, am I a good fit for this client? Is the client a good fit for me? Do our values align? First, yes, the money might be tempting, but if you can sense that our values don't align and there'll be problem down the line, run away. If not, you'll be that person that's had like 5 divorces and 6 marriages in 3 years, right? So that should be one of the most important things that you pick.
Very profound and like, right on point. I like the idea of master steward. So you have the of mastery, and then you have the humility of like service. Right, so good one. As everybody was talking, I just realized that, see, man, there needs to be a platform for more of this kind of conversation, and I can only imagine how much you all have to share that this thing. Hopefully more of this to come. I really can't wait. Okay, so next question I would like to ask now is inspiration. This question earlier, but I would not bother. But I'll still ask it for you. Ask, if you were not a strategist right now, what else would you be doing? By implication, you have all answered that question one way or the other. So in that case now, I want to ask, like, strategist, what inspires you? Like, inspire you to become better? I mean, it might be of strategy itself. That's one. The second thing is, what's your aspiration? What to doing with this skill of strategy? Is it that you want to get to the point of selling a client like Apple? Is it that you want everybody in Nigeria to become strategy focused businesses? Like, what is that aspiration? And then what is your inspiration? So I'm going to start with Funsho this time.
Oh, okay.
Say something.
Yeah, can you hear me? Good.
Yeah, we are
So,
also very happy that you're starting this.
awesome. I'm not going to take much. My inspiration, as a strategist, okay, let me a little background. I studied psychology for my first degree. So
Okay.
it kind of made me understand how people works. I don't know if that's it. Like I can put myself in your shoes and know, okay, what you're thinking, right? And so when I entered strategy, it was like, oh wow, like some of these things I can, I've kind of like I've had a prior knowledge of them, and so my inspiration, things that inspire me are I kind of like to, I read, I kind of I'm curious. That's one thing. So if I'm watching the movie now and I see something, instantly I'm going to pause the movie and go to Google and search for that thing. If I find, maybe if the visuals on the movie is kind of like stunning, I would take my phone and take a picture, right? If I hear something like a new word or kind of a new perspective, even on LinkedIn, I'll go to my notes and kind of make a mental kind of notes. It's kind of interesting to me, like, because I think as a strategist, you have to have this broad knowledge. And so you don't have to restrict yourself to strategy, right? Because the clients that you're working with, they all come from various aspects of life. You wouldn't imagine, you might be working with like a restaurant owner the next day, and the next day you're working with like a CMO of a tech company or something. Like you can see like different backgrounds, different this thing. you just have to kind of read wide, study wide, be open to learning. Those are my thing. I mean, I find inspiration out of everyday activities. And so my aspirations would be, I'm still not done learning, right? We're student, I'm a student for life. So I want to continue to be more better. Probably, I mean, I want to be more than, I just want to be more than just the ordinary strategies. I want to have more rep than Bimiro and Blessing. I want to be a global strategist, right? So yeah, that's one thing for me that's really important. Yeah.
I could summarize that means, first of all, your inspiration comes from everything around you. And it's very interesting to find that your background is psychology. So that's very, very,
Thank you.
that gives me an insight to why you become a strategist. And then your inspiration is to become as big as you can be and have as much
Yeah.
impact. Awesome. So please, I'd like to know what your background is. I know you used to be in Reflections and you used to dance. That's all. I don't think I remember. Yeah.
Okay, so I was an aspiring doctor, so I had to do a pre-medical course, which was biochemistry. And yeah, I don't know if, any biochemical pathways would have inspired me to become a strategist, but who knows?
Science is science.
Fun fact though, when I was in secondary school, I was the only student who did both science and arts courses at the same time, because my two HODs fought for me. They were like, I can't just be in science. I can't just do it. Yeah, it was cute. So the principal was like, oh, you have to sort this out, take all the courses. It was stressful, but it was cute.
Like a movie.
I'm telling you, it was dramatic. Anyway, my inspiration is contribution, to be honest. I always say that we didn't come to this world to make money and die and not be able to take the money with us when we are going. I also don't think that we came to this world to work, and just die, So for me, I think the reason that every single person, and if anyone is here thinking about, what's their purpose, I think the reason that we all exist is to contribute. Maybe what we're trying to figure out is how, but we're all here to contribute. If Charles Babbage did not come up with Abacus, I don't think Steve Jobs or anybody else would have made as much progress as they did with laptops or as fast as they did, right? If Steve Woz and Steve Jobs did not do Mach 1, maybe iPads will not exist. It's just the contribution, it's the everybody just bringing shared resources into this brain box and doing their own thing, but not even knowing that they're contributing into something else. Somebody had to figure out, that the world was spherical, and then we came up with like force of gravity, like just all of these tiny contributions. People use Einstein's calculation every single day to come up with new discoveries and innovation. Imagine Einstein never shared. So I think that we're all here to contribute our knowledge, our insight, our process, something to the world. And so thinking about it that way, I'm just always like, I leave people better than I meet them. And that's my thing. So contribution is what inspires me. Aspiration, I think I am living my dream in the sense that I've never been one of those people who would want to work with Facebook, Google, blah, blah, blah. I've always thought the reason we want to work with Facebook, Google, blah, 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 is that somebody built it. So I'm the person who always thinks, I want to build those kind of organizations. And so every time that I have built a company or been part of building a company, it's been with a global mindset. And it's been working out, it's been working out for me. I'm excited with everything that has gone on so far. I think that beyond just working and building companies, I'm experimenting all the time. I'm always experimenting. And maybe my aspiration would be to live a life where I have all of the freedom that I need to experiment as much as I want without thinking, money is a problem or time is a problem, or just being limitless with my experiments. That's it. Then last quick contribution. Some of the things that I learned, and I got this while Ope was speaking, is, and I saw someone ask me, did I used to filter clients back in the day? So the way that I have filtered clients is by working with different types of people. It's like I work with you first, and then after that experience, I might be able to say, okay, this is the kind of thing that I want, or this is not the kind of thing that I want. It's really experiment. I always say that the goal of an experiment is not to be right, but to discover. But you're never going to discover if you don't experiment. You have to try, put yourself out there. It means that failure is permitted. Like, you're allowed to fail, you're allowed to make mistakes, but that's how you figure it out. There's a time in my life I used to think that I could charge to put a band-aid over over someone's bad behavior. So maybe if somebody is going to disrespect me, maybe there's an amount they can pay me to disrespect me. Like, as long as they can pay me this amount, I would chop the disrespect. I used to think that until one day I called a blatant figure. The person really needed me, so the person paid it. It was a 3-week project, and the person disrespected me because it's their character. It wasn't like, she's not trying to disrespect, it's just how she is. And she did it. And I'm like, I don't think anybody in this life can ever pay me enough to disrespect me. And that became a thing. So if I know that from your discovery calls, from the way people are interacting, you can already tell when somebody is going to be, respectful or not, and how they're going to treat you. People that call you, that don't have boundaries, call you at 3 a.m. because they were thinking up an idea, and we're not friends, we're not that close. Why are you calling me in the middle of my sleep? I mean, I'm married. Why are you here? Those kind of things. I just would never, ever take it, no matter how much. I would never be paid to destroy, but that's me. Now, this doesn't have to be you. For some people, I've also spoken with friends of mine who, if you pay them a certain amount of money, you can insult them, they can. I don't know how to do that. So the way that I've been able to meet our clients is by working with them and realizing this is what I want, this is not what I want. Another thing that has really helped me is, I know I've learned how to work for value and not for free. And so this is something that I teach everyone, is like, don't work for free, work for value. And that means that value could be anything. Value isn't always money. Don't let anybody shame you about exposure, because, fun fact, Rihanna was not paid to perform at Super Bowl. She did it for exposure. And guess what? She made a shit ton of money for Fenty. Like, she made it shit, like the amount of money she made, you would be shocked, right? She knew the value that she was going to get out of that experience, and that's why she did it. So when you are choosing to do something, even if you're doing it for free, ask yourself, am I going to get the value for this? And is this value commensurate to the amount of work that I'm doing? So you don't grumble. So you don't be like, they did not even pay me and they're treating me like this. No, once you've agreed to do that thing for free or for value, what you have said is, this is commensurate with money in my head, and therefore I'm going to do it and give it my best. And I would always do my best work, because I think it's not just about the work. I'm not doing it. It's not because my father's business or anything. It's because I'm signing it off with my name. And because I'm signing it off with my name, it has to be excellent. Anything that is associated with me has to be excellent. So have personal self-respect for yourself. Have like an excellent mindset. Be the best for someone. You don't have to be the best for everybody, but just be the best for someone and give that one person your best. That one person will bring 10 other people that you don't even expect. Yeah. So those are like some tiny things that I wanted to. Oh, last one. And please, if you're going to dash somebody, if you're going to give somebody discounts, because I know we're creators here, you want to give somebody discount, put it in your invoice that this is the discount that I'm giving you. So the price is 1 million, but the discount is 50% because you're a friend. So that when they're referring you to somebody else, they know what your price is. And they know that the reason they got this 50% is because they were friends. And so if this other person is not a friend, the person is not going to get 50%. And it's at my discretion. If you dash somebody discounts without necessarily telling them that it was a discount, they're going to just spread the word that that's your actual price. Don't be that person who charges based on Dangote, separate money, Opeyemi another money, Blessing another money. Don't be that person. Charge your price. And then if you're going to do something extra for Dangote, create a custom package and let him know that this is custom and he's going to be getting something else. If you want to charge a particular tier of clients, if you want to reach a particular tier of clients, they're used to a specific kind of experience. You're not just going to access them randomly. You have to be willing to build the relationships. You have to be willing to be in the spaces that they're in. If you want to attract people who are buying art, which are a different type of people, go for art exhibition, make conversation, know how to carry conversations on things that they're interested in. You're not just going to wake up one day and just start charging luxury money My favorite example to give is, imagine that you ordered a Gucci bag, or Gucci is even small step. Let's say you did like a Van Cleef, right? Or something for your wife, or a Cartier. Yeah, you ordered a Cartier. Oh, wait, maybe that's too far. Let's do which one? Let's do Gucci. Let's do Gucci. Everybody knows Gucci. So let's say you ordered Gucci, right? And you paid $3,000 for a wallet. $3,000. Then they now deliver it with, no offense, Okada. Like the delivery man brought it with Okada. How do you feel that, or Chanel bag for your girlfriend or for yourself, $10,000, and they delivered it with Okada, meaning that as they are driving on that Lagos road, it will do your bag of $10,000. Like, how are you going to feel, right? Because it's all in all of the experience. And as a brand person, it's not just about like the packaging, it's about the content, it's about the experience, there's so many things. So you as well, if you want to access a specific tier of client, you have to also embody the experience for that specific tier, meaning that you're willing to have talk to them in ways that communicate respect. You have to be sound. You have there's so many things you have to do in addition to your activities. And don't pitch your ideas, pitch your process. Okay, that's all. I'm done.
I love the last one. Don't pitch your ideas, pitch your process.
Yes,
Wow.
so that's such a big deal because, and I formed this ideology really early because I worked in agency. Anybody who has worked in agency knows this. When you're working in agency, they bring all these briefs. Different people bring briefs. And you go to their office and you are just, and this is like, and this process is like before they pay you, you create brand strategy, full one, come up with execution plan, everything. And you go, you pitch it. And these people would have 10 ideas to shop from. Then they will pick one person that they've always wanted to pick since. And when they're done picking that person, they will now carry all your small ideas from different places. And I'll be like, oh, I like this part. I like this part. What if you mix all of this together and you in your house that came up with that idea, you're not going to get paid. Only the person that they finally picked will get paid. And so by the time you've come and you've pitched all your ideas, how do you even get those ideas when you've not even spoken to the client long enough to know? Like, they give you a brief. Have you done your discovery with them? Because as a brand strategist, you're talking to decision makers. You are in a room with decision makers and you're asking questions. You're asking team questions. You're asking people questions. Like, you are a decision maker as well, because you're trying to unearth things for them. You're trying to understand them better. So how did you come up with all these brand ideas that you've already created when you've not even had those deep conversations with them, right? And so when somebody is trying to audition you and ask you, how do I know you can do the work? You don't even, different people do different things. I don't put a portfolio together, and I don't know, like, depending on the kind of clients you work with, I respect NDAs. I cannot come and tell you what I did for the company. I cannot show you the brand strategy document I did for another company. That's hilarious. But I can tell you my process. I can tell you, this is what we're going to do. These are the processes we're going to take. This is how much time we're going to have to spend on calls. This is the document that you're going to get. This is what's going to be contained in that document. And this is how you can use that document later to be able to do X, Y, Z. So I tell you the process you're going to go through with me. I clarify your expectations from day one. You're getting the number of pages of document that I've told you you're going to get. And I clarify that it is not about the document. I recently had a client, a person reach out to me and she said, oh, Blessing, we worked with some guys in India and they came up with a logo. Now we want to adopt that logo into like brand merch and brand collaterals and stuff. I'm like, oh, interesting. I'm not the person for you. Did the person who did the logo come up with a strategy first to explain, how we got here? Like, what is the brand personality? how did we, what's the ethos of the brand? What does the brand stand for? All of these things. They had not figured any of that out yet, but they had a logo. And I'm like, okay, what's the story behind the logo? It's like, oh yeah, somebody's favorite color, something. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I am the person you work with before the logo is created, or if you're looking to rebrand, right? I'm the person who structures up until what kind of people you should hire, like based off your values and stuff like that. That's who I am. So I'm not the person who, what's it called? So I was able to clarify and help her understand. And she's like, oh my God, I even need that for my own business, not just for my clients. So now I know when to come to you and all of that. So I'm able to talk about the process without giving you one single idea. I could give you examples, but I won't give you like, this is what I'm doing for your business directly. And that sort of helps someone. It's like doctors, exactly. It's like a surgeon, right? If a surgeon is about to operate on you for whatever illness that you have, let's say appendicitis, the doctor is not going to come and show you previous appendicitis, previous appendix that they remove now. They'll not be like, oh, this is which is appendix. Hello. And you know, that's not what's going to happen. They're going to tell you, so you're going to be put under, you're going to be sedated. We're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do that. This is going to be the results. After we look at this scan, there's appendix there. When we finish this scan, there will be no appendix there. Finish. Like, and I think that, you know, in your own way, you're a doctor, you're a brand doctor, so they should respect you. So.
I like that. So your story about that Chanel bag delivered with Okada, you know, reminded me of that Okada man that was eating somebody's shawarma. But anyway, that is, by the way. So Opeyemi, I'm going to ask you to answer the same question, but I want to know, would you, you know, you said you started as a broke guy.
Wait, is that the only lesson you
So
that moved on now? Well, it's
would you have taken
not so funny.
client?
Go on, sorry. Would I have taken a client that
That client that was going to slap Blessing with money and insults, would that have been a good fit for you in that moment?
I would take the client to see? That's why I sound like Blessing now. I'll take the client to see. I would take the client. Wait, at the moment, if it is say, would I have? Say, would you? say, would I have? I mean, so, but it depends. It depends on it. So I do not know the level at which you know that for people. So you know that for people who grew up in Jos, Anambra, Abuja, disrespect means different things. To people who grew up in Port Harcourt, you get. So I grew up in so you know, okay. So you're mad, that's disrespect to us. That's you're mad, you're mad, don't marry, you're mad. You say you're disrespected. Oh, no, let's go. Let's just. So I mean, so you know these things, right? I mean, but so disrespect to me can be like on that thing, like I just say my work is stupid. Maybe I can vex, but if you don't even collect like 60% before I vex, do you get then? But one of the things she mentioned, which I think is really, really important, and that is what has driven me, is you need to be able to set standards for yourself. Like, so some people set standards that protect their mind and compartmentalize when issues like this happen, and it is okay for them. But if it doesn't work well for you, don't go and be doing strategy with frustration. You will do nonsense and it will come back to haunt you, right? And it also means that you'll be bottling up frustration and you may now be pouring that frustration on the next client that is just good. Maybe the person just honestly asks question and the thing that just comes to your head is how that person treated you, and you just pour frustration on an innocent client that doesn't even know where you're coming from. They don't know that it's the former client that paid you money, that you are transferring aggression to this new client that just said, maybe the questions were similar. Wait, this no be me do you. I'm just remembering that Pastor Aaron's video. No be me do you. No be me do you. Like, yeah. So I think that's where it stands. And because one of the things I also saw Nigerian designers did at one point, was all of us now wanted to become Chris Do. I'm like, it's true. How do you want to become Chris Do? I just do. I at one point the guy said that all of us were adjusting our strategy document towards this. Wow, this is how it works. I don't know, because I mean, I have a where I do strategy document, right? And I don't try to. At one point, let me even confess, I got confused because strategy document is the one thing that I have seen in this life that is not the same for different people who are extremely intelligent. So I saw this strategy document. oh, this one is nice. I saw this other one, this one is nice. My first strategy was almost like 40-something pages. I'm like, now I look back, I'm like, what were you doing? Are you okay? Are you fine? Because I was trying, but again, Blessing said something, that questions are like experiments are meant to help you discover, not to find out that you're right. Praise is usually the person I bounce off thoughts in. From then till now, we have been reducing all the things we put in our strategy document. At one point, we almost removed personality from strategy document because we felt by the time you are going into tone of voice, you're already going into writing and drafting the person's communications, which in itself, because we began to define brand strategy as a form of identifier, right? It is that point where so the way we defined brand strategy began to influence what we describe as our strategy document. And that is how we sold to the people we wanted to sell for, right? To your question, so that inspiration for me is, inspiration for me is, I see a lot of movies. I don't read a lot of books, but this year I will read a lot of books. I've said that this year, this is April. I've not read, but I will read this year. I'll read and I want to do all those things that these smart people used to do, where they will write the number of books they have read the whole year. I mean, it used to make me I say I'm not smart. So this year I will read like 25. No, those people they used to read 100. I read 100. Yeah, I will read 100. But I do like a lot of articles. I think what helped me become what I am today is, at one point in my life, I think it was 2017, 2018, I was reading 10 articles in a day, right? That's about 17 a week and 218 a month, right? Consistently. And the 10 articles in a day is not that it's 10, is that 10 is when I stop counting. Sometimes I read more than 10. And what that helped me do is, it helped me to be able to sit in any conversation. I don't know anything about Bitcoin, but you can't lose me in a Bitcoin conversation. At least I know enough to contribute and shut up to where the masters will now continue. I will now listen. Then I'll now use what they have now added to finish my own conversation, because I know where to start from, right? And I think that's it for me. So, but I do a lot of movies. Not necessarily movies, but series, right? So I learn from conversation, because my job as a brand strategist is to be able to visualize people's experiences, and movies do it perfectly, right? So I do a lot of series. One time in our career, when we were just starting fourth canvas, I think we were like third year, then I used to just go to the mall and sit down and observe how people buy things. I'll just sit down. I observe the guy that's fighting with his girlfriend. Like, why did you buy extra ice cream? I do that. Like, I don't think I've done that again in recent times. But then I just used to go and sit there in the mall. I can't do that again. I'll just go sit there in the mall, see how people are doing stuff, see how people are reacting to issues, and just observe people. So yeah, that is how I get inspired. Now, another thing that inspires me is, come on, we are growing old. Bukata Akpo is an inspiration. Yeah. So then aspiration.
Because there are many people that don't know what to mean by Bukata Akpo.
Oh, sorry, this is an international staff. Bukata is responsibility, black and white stacks, because it's no more black. It's black and white stacks. Aspiration, I think my aspiration is the same. There are two keywords that guide my life. Two keywords that guide my life at the moment. I mean, tomorrow it can change. I think I have a podcast on it with Modia. We are all we have. I think it's another way to describe what Blessing says in terms of contribution, right? We are all we have. Then the second one is, which is, I think it's everywhere for me, is I want to tell the stories of Africa's most ambitious brands. Not brands, so to speak, Africa's most ambitious projects. I am strongly Pan-African, and I believe that if everybody understands storytelling from the perspective of the power it has to inspire people towards a direction, more of our brands and businesses will go global. And if we're global, then it means locally people will have a little bit more opportunities to strength. So I believe that people thinking, being able to build strong brands, which is individual and businesses for Africans, is going to change the landscape of the continent. And that is what drives me. That is why I do the things I do, to be honest. And so that's my aspiration, to be like the backbone of some of Africa's most ambitious projects. I think that's my pinned tweet too. Yeah.
That's your aspiration. Mofe, have it. Let's have it.
At this point, I feel like we're the same, everybody here, like we're the same people, but we're in different bodies, right? So I don't have anything to say again, to be honest, because everything has been said. So I'll just see the personal part of it. I came, so do you think I accepted this so I can talk? I came here to come and learn. See my notes. I've everything Blessing has said, everything Opeyemi has said, everything Funsho has said, I've written it down. I have content now for the next 1 month. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. I'll give you credit. So what inspires me is simply, to be honest, right? One magic element that we have is that we can pick something from one field, right, and merge it with another field. Everybody's always thinking of creating original ideas, but I feel like the best ideas come when you take an idea in one industry, an idea in another industry, and break it together, like technical brokerage, right? And you develop something new, like it's magic, right? So let me give you a quick example of how my year has been. So this year, we've worked on different briefs. At points, we worked for, we rebranded a financial services company, right? And trust me, throughout that project, all my YouTube algorithm was about the financial industry. I literally, for one whole week, I took my laptop to the lobby of the company and was working from there. There was we were wrapping up one for a restaurant, and kid you not, I was going to a restaurant every week to work in, like all the staff knew me. What example again? Last year entering January, we did one for an early career discovery platform. And I literally went to my brother in the best university in Africa. It's called Unilag. And I was like in the hostel and everything, literally live the experience, speaking with people. I did not have that luxury before, but I have an awesome partner now that is holding the helm, so I can afford to do that. Before, who bought me well? But yeah, that's the beauty. That's how I get inspired, to be honest. I just see myself as a steward. As a steward, and just like be all things to different people. Aspiration, everybody knows that. I remember a couple of years ago, it was to impact 10 million African brands, but now I'm like, fuck it, 10 million African brands is too small. So we're doing 100 million now. That's the only thing that pushes us, you understand? And also, yeah, that's it pretty much. Thank you.
Impacting 100 million. I'm trying to imagine many of that would be indirectly. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, excellent. About aspiration, I mean, there's so much more I want to dive into, but we are sadly out of time. So I'm just going to check for some of the questions that we have here, and then we can round up. Please, if you're on this call, I'd like you to whoever stood out to you the most from this call, and tag whoever said it, any of the and yes, you should use the hashtag Strategy Jumpstart. Yes. That, so that other people that were not here can pick one or two things. I'm checking through the comments to see if I've answered one of the questions. Question 1. Good morning, everyone. My first question would be how to manage ideas and strategies. That is being a project to supervise. A number of times I struggle with projecting and communicating clearly how to go about the execution phase. So what steps do our brand strategists take when working on strategies to implement during execution phase? Direct to Mofe. Yes. Do you get the question?
Yes,
Basically, okay.
Can you let me recap? Like basically, like what processes during like to build a brand strategy? Like how
Sure. Like, how do you guide people through implementation? This person struggles with projecting and communicating clearly. Yes.
sorry, I didn't get that part. Your network went off, your audio went off.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
The person wants to know how you as a strategist, help to execute implementation phase. How do you work with other people? But this person particularly struggles with projecting and communicating clearly.
Okay, beautiful. So I'll just scoop. I'm quite specific, right? So now, there's this thing that especially Nigerian creators, or I don't know, not only Nigerian creators, or to be honest, I've experienced that from other people. They do this thing where they see the brief as a transaction, right? Give me your money, I give you my service, bye-bye. And trust me, I used to do that before too. I'm not gonna lie, I swear. I used to do that before. But the moment you have like a mind shift and you see yourself as, one of the highest earners in the world are strategic advisors, right? Why lawyers are like one of the richest people, right? Is that you become all things to that person. And if you have done your discovery at the beginning of the project properly, if you've built the relationship, right, you already have similar values to this person, right? The kind of conversations you have, the quality of conversations you have with this person is like all good. So the person came to you and the person said, oh, we need a brand strategy, right? And you said, okay, no problem. All the YouTube tutorials I've watched, everything I put together, all the formula that we keep tweaking, and you bring it out and you give the person brand strategy and you give the person pick, and the person goes, like, the person forgets you, right? And you don't want that. I'm sure everybody in this call, all brand strategists in this call, the highest marketing channel or sales channel has been referrals, right? Like somebody referring you, that's the strongest thing. So what we do is that once we offer that service, we literally put ourselves in the shoe of the person and try to see other things that person might need. And most times we don't offer that service, right? But we have trusted people that offer that service. So we bring them and say, oh, okay, we've done your brand strategy for you now, but you don't want to go and shoot the video. And the person wants to go and give the video to his third cousin that's shooting videos on one dead DSLR, and all the strategy and everything you've done is by waste. So now we recommend you. We say, okay, use this person, shoot the video and everything. So you guide them beyond it. You become more than that thing that you asked for. Personally, at Correctors, what we do is that once we're done with your strategy documents, we're also on a retainer with you for a particular period of time to help you implement that strategy. So we literally work with you with other agencies. Ope was saying at the other time how PR marketing agencies can like do like find another direction for you. You know that thing where the agency believes like they have the best people in now. So you're giving them the brand strategy document. You've told them your mission, you've told them your purpose, you've told them everything, you've told them the tactics, you've told them your brand communication strategy. But somebody in that place will say, won't it be a good idea if we do this, if we do that? And the campaign will come out tomorrow and you'll be like, what is this? And unfortunately for you, it's already your portfolio. And somebody else is saying that. And you're like, what? So if you can, that's a good model. Like it's like I'll recommend it. So if you work with them during that period of executing that strategy, right? And you can liaise with those teams, right? We have people on our team, like literally account managers, right? That's okay, this person in charge of you, okay, guide that person through this process, liaise with everything, and ensure that this person, they don't change this person's vision and pour in own energy into it. So yeah, that's how we ensure that our strategies are being executed effectively.
Thank you so much, Mofe. I'll do this question to hook Okwe before he goes. What brand strategy process be different for a music artist and how so?
I think the person has already sent DM to Blessing, but so This is a fundamental question because it shows that we are trying to define a brand, how we approach branding for a person and a business, right? And again, it is not, because people are brands. So the same way you run a personal brand is almost exactly the same way you run a business. The only thing that changes is context, right? You're also going to do discovery. Yeah, also almost everything you do for a business is what you are going to do for a personal brand, right? So there is no difference. The only thing is, for a music person, if the person is one person, the stakeholders you are discussing with is one person. If you're doing it for a business, the stakeholders you are having conversations with, maybe the co-founder, C-suits, right? It's just in the number of people. But in terms of process, in terms of fundamentals, in terms of ideals, right? I mean, it's almost exactly the same thing. You're only just readjusting it to focus on personalizing the whole brand strategy process. Yeah, I mean, that's just it. So I do not, from a ideological point of view, see branding for a person different from branding a company. It's the same goal, to make you unforgettable in the minds of people in a way that you have designed, right? So if it's the same goal, it's the same process, I'll only just change things where some things are supposed to be for teams. For example, if I want to do personal brand for people, I still run brand sprints. And sometimes I add their babes as the other person in the company. Like, sorry, not their babes, because they are significant others, right? As the other person, because sometimes you are not seeing yourself and your significant other has like a lot of information about you, which is something when you're dealing with a team, the other person is supposed to be able to do and add like a lot of context. Yeah, so that's my answer. So if we're dealing for a music artist, it's almost exactly, because again, the music artist sometimes is even more complex than an organization as a result of the niche. All right, so yeah, that's all. I have to run. I have another session in a couple of minutes, but thank you. This has been really amazing. Thank you for everybody. Yes, I learned to like Mofe. Things is really on that kind. Thank you. Let me show my face one last time. Have a great day, people. Bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to round up as quickly as possible, and we may not be able to take all the questions, sadly, because we are completely out of time. I'd like to throw one question to Funsho, and then one last question to Blessing, and then we'll call it a day. Funsho, this question says, I'm 2 months into transition into brand strategy, but I still feel I don't have the exact framework to work in. What frameworks do you suggest we follow for fundamentals before scaling up? So that's question one. I want you to combine these two questions. The second question from the same person says, is it right to start creating content on social media as a young strategist before you get really good? At one point, I like talking about strategy on my WhatsApp status and young entrepreneurs. But now thinking about transitioning into Instagram, I don't feel confident enough without building perfection, since a lot of people will be watching. What do you suggest?
Okay. Real quick, the first question is frameworks to go by when they're starting. The thing is, see, there is, I think at this point, we're in the 21st century, obviously there's a lot of platforms that abound. That kind of information is, nobody is even like, information like is all around us. So I think you should just scour through the internet and see what other people are doing. I'm sure that if you type on Google the strategy framework, you're going to get like 1,000 of framework to use. All right. So and it kind of just it kind of like thinking back to what I said prior, that you just have to trust your gut, right? You have to, number one, get knowledge on strategy. What are the basic principles? What are the best practices? Start from there. Okay. Then it's when you are starting, it's like there's a thin line between you overdoing. There's a thin line between overdoing and kind of doing the bare minimum. So you want to make sure that you are not overdoing, because I think last year someone sent a strategy document to me. I'm like, okay, bro, this is a strategy document I prepared. I'm like, this is a lot. Your client don't even need this information. All those information that all your research, they don't need it. They just need the final point. So don't overdo it. Stick with the basics. The frameworks that you see that you can find now, they are the one. Trust me, they are the one that you can use now. So you just stick with it and flow with it. Experience would teach you that some things are needed and some things are not needed. The core is very short, and I'm not going to kind of go over everything that needs to be in a strategy, but I can assure you that what you have currently, that is what it is. So stick with that, use it. Then when you sit down with like 10 clients, 20 clients doing strategy, you know what should be in and what shouldn't. It's super obvious. Then to the second question, which is how to transition as a designer, right? How to move from being a designer to a strategist. Okay. I need to
transition. The person is trying to transition into strategy. They've just started, or they've just transitioned into strategy.
Okay.
So they've been sharing about strategy on WhatsApp, and now they want to move to Instagram.
Okay.
But they are scared that everybody will see them on Instagram, and they don't feel very confident.
Okay. All right. So number one, I think you should move out of WhatsApp. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that might hurt your ego, but your clients are not WhatsApp. The people that might probably pay for strategy, they probably are not even watching your WhatsApp status. And I get it that it's fine to want to flex your thought leadership skills on WhatsApp, but if you need to do business, then LinkedIn or Instagram should be your best bet. Like especially if you're like a personal brand, like a person who's not working under any agency or anything, you should start looking at platforms like LinkedIn and Instagram, because these platforms open you up to the global audience. All right. And you are probably going to get someone who is interested in your services as a result. Then when it comes to not confident, or that comes when you start to share more. I think personally, when I started, it was like, okay, you shared that, but I got conviction in what I was sharing, because people were resonating. All right. And this is something that I also learned from Gary V. Your content, the content that people post out there, it's not like sometimes it's not like I know it. It's not like they are 100% convicted of whatever idea they are sharing. Sometimes, a lot of times, it's more about, okay, let's take this out. Let's see what people feel about it. And so there is this thing where you learn from sharing. All right. You are going to get a lot of comments, and you're going to get a lot of, some people might disagree, that's fine. Some people might agree, but there is something happening in that process where you are also learning what works, or what is sticking, or what is not sticking. All right. So if you're a young strategist, get yourself out there. Trust me, no matter the information that you're sharing, if you're very consistent, it's going to shape up, and you're going to look back at like in a year, and you're going to look and say, oh wow, this is a content I share. This is trash. And you are just going to that process kind of just owns your ideas. It owns your own perspective too in retrospect. So yes, get yourself out there, start sharing. The more you share, the more you learn. Don't be afraid. And trust me, in that process, you're going to start building your personal brand. And you're also going to start getting more brand awareness as a result. And you're going to start to get clients, in that process. So there's a lot of things that I've shared, but I think we are wrapping up. So yeah, let's leave it at that. Hopefully, so you can host this one more time for us all to come discuss. This is a very good platform, and I would love to share more about my experience as a self-taught strategist. All
right. Thank you very much
Thank you,
Sure.
sir.
Yes, so the last question, which Blessing would help answer, is how do we no, that's not the last question. Where is the question? No, it was a question on team working with teams. Okay, yes. Can you work alone as a strategist, or you need to be part of a team? If you need to be part of a team, what team do you need to have around?
Okay, I think that there's so many ways to build a career as a brand strategist. I think you can work as a freelancer, you can have a company, you can work in a team, you can work in an agency. There are companies who hire, should I say, yeah, there are companies who hire brand strategists under their brand departments, but those are really large companies who know the value of branding. And your job as a brand strategist will not be to just define the strategy, but it would be to maintain it as well. So if you work within an organization like that, or it would be a company that has or launches multiple products and they would require refinement consistently for their brand, or it would be with an agency who works with different organizations and they're consistently creating brand strategies. So for example, you can work in Mofe's team, you can work in Opey's team, you can work with Fourth Canvas, there are companies like that. You could also work in companies like The Future, companies that are design oriented, or brand companies that have those kind of departments and places you can work with, but you can also work on your own and you can create strategies on your own and have your own clients and all of that. So those two lives and paths are possible. Another question I think I saw here that I think someone said I should help with was, how do we work effectively with a business manager without having a clash of interest in creating the brand essence, target audience, brand name, and etc. I guess this comes back to that thing we talked about asking the right questions and just being patient, because yes, you are the expert, but it is not your company. And if the other person, sometimes people will tell you things like their target market is everybody, which is my favorite example to use, right? And when that happens, you might be tempted to say, your target market cannot be everybody. What's the exact target market? They're not going to have an answer for you, because in their minds, they really believe that their target market is everybody. As a brand strategist, you're also a teacher. So it's important for you to be patient enough to say, okay, for example, who are people that you see not being able to buy or afford this product? You can even help them strip it off. One of my first ways to often start, and don't do this for everybody, you can pick how you do it, is like, would an old woman use your product? In what context? Will a baby use your product? So what's the age? What's the lowest age of someone who would be able to use this product? And then I try to explain the difference between a consumer and a customer. I explained that, for example, the consumer of Pampers is the baby, but the baby doesn't crawl to the shop to go and buy the Pampers. So truly, the customer is the parent or the help. Sometimes the decider is the house help who is eventually sent. And so just being able to break down different roles to help them see that, yes, this might be, the person who would use it, but this might not be the person who will pay you money. And at the end of the day, your customer is somebody who needs it, who can afford it, that is willing and able rather to afford it, right? That's how I describe customers to my target, or them to my clients. It's like someone who needs it, yes, but they're willing and able to pay for it. Is Dangote able to pay for pure water? Yes. Is he willing? No. Am I willing to pay for a private jet? Yes. Am I able? No. So I am not the customer of a private jet. They can put me in their funnel as an audience. Audience are, in my opinion, your audience are people like social media, for example. You probably have 10,000 followers, but only 100 will ever buy from you. Now, does it mean you should throw your audience away? No, but you can leverage them as evangelists and create things, resources, content, create ladder pricing and things like that, so that they can buy ebooks, to learn how to do it themselves, worksheets, things like that. Maybe they cannot afford me, but at least they can see my content. They can see Felix's Funsho's content, and then they will share his content. They'll just be sharing it. And when they share it, guess what happens? His real audience, his real customers rather, can see that content and be like, who is this Funsho guy? They will not ask this person that shared it to them, who is this guy? They will not say, this guy, he used to be brand solutions, bad guy, great with branding and something. Then that person that actually has the money will come and pay. So you have used your audience as an evangelist to work for you. So being able to break things like that down and teach, because of course, for you to teach it, you have to know it, right? So for you to be able to, you only get angry. I don't know if you guys have seen this video where it was a matchmaking video. A guy came up, a girl came up, and the guy, there was an IG live guy that was managing it. And then the guy said, which religion are you practicing? And the guy said, I'm an atheist. And the thing just caused fights, right? Because the other guy did not know what an atheist was. And this other guy was telling him to Google it. And so the guy was just angry. Exactly. So both of you and your client will be like that. If this one says, what's your target audience? You're like, you don't know what a target audience is. It means that you are not a good expert and you are exhibiting that guy's bad traits. You're not teaching, you're not helping your clients. And that's, again, the process of clarity, when, because they've experienced you, they now know, oh, my target audience, the people who can actually afford to pay this money that we're charging, they must be 30 and above because they've gotten to XYZ level in their career. Maybe they are less than 50 because they're not that old. They're more likely to adopt new technologies. You'll be able to break it down, and that's where the uniqueness is. So of course you should come into a business understanding that sometimes the business manager may not even be super clear on who the target audience is, but your ability to listen to their point of view, accept what needs to be accepted, and say, okay, I understand that this is where we're going, these are the goals for the business. In fact, most of the conversations should start with goals. When you see the success of this company, what does that look like for you? If you know that, and you will now look like you're on the same team, it's not about egos, it's not about who wants to be right and wrong, it's about, this is the goal for the business, and we're trying to figure out how can we best get there. You people automatically become on the same team, and you start workshopping ideas together. So you do it as a team sport and not as who is righter than the other. It's going to totally change your mind frame. Brand name, you can suggest, but the owner of the company is the person who's going to have to live with it forever. So you need to understand, what are the things that they like? What were the first names that came to their minds? Why? Ask those kind of questions. Why did you want this name? What does this business mean to you? In what scenario did you find this business? Like, what memories does it spark for you? Like, just ask sensible questions that would make them tell you things. And then you'd be like, oh, I like that. And then you suggest, and you say, oh, what do you think about this? Don't say, it should be this. You'd be like, what do you think about this? Why don't you like it? Why do you like it? You know how doctors, when they are checking your body, they'll be like, do you feel pain here? What about here and here? The doctor cannot know how your head is paining you more than you. So you have to also remember that you cannot know more of the business than the owner of the business. So you have to be patient, ask questions, be clarifying, be helpful, be useful.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Blessing. Your answer has been excellent from beginning to the end. Likewise, everybody else. Mofe, Funsho. I wish we could just keep talking. And so it's as if there's so much more to draw from Mofe, there's so much more to draw from everybody, but the format does not permit us all of the time. So there's one more question, but the person wants Blessing to answer. So I think, Blessing, please, Ayokule might send you a DM. So that
answer the question now, please. My name is, I just thought the DM, like, I don't think I'm going to respond today. All right, but like, Ayokule, so I see that you're working on a personal brand identity project and you're trying to put yourself out there. So this is for you specifically, but you're trying to come up with a positioning statement. All right. So I have the perfect article to send you for this because I've already written about it, about unique selling points and stuff. So I just send you that article. Yes. Okay, true. DM me. and say, Blessing, you promised me an article, I'm going to send that to you. But the crux of that article just focuses on the fact that your unique selling point, you have to think through what is the value that you have to offer. Think about supporting skills as well. Sometimes your unique selling point is not the products, it could be around your process. And so most times you get your positioning statement from your customers, from doing customer research. A lot of us assume that we know our audience and we sit in our house and we assume a lot of things, but we don't really go out there and have conversations with our audience. We do survey forms, but we don't have conversations. And survey forms and conversations, very different. Surveys, people lie and give you the most accurate version of themselves. I've seen surveys where men would be like, they will ask you, do you support women in their career, blah, blah, blah. They say yes, because that's what they wish they did. But in real life, when you're talking to them, they say, but my daughter cannot go and do da. You know, like if you really think about it, if you have asked a couple of people, would you want would you support your husband with his dream business and work 2 jobs if you know he's trying to come up with a great idea that you think would blow? They'll say yes. But then when you ask them, how do you feel about the role that Taraji played in Acrimony? They'll tell you their real feelings, because truly, but it's true. Because like truly, how we felt, we will reveal, we will say. But if we survey, we will take ideal version of myself, and we will take it up. So it's always nice to have conversations. And don't be super direct with the question. Like, you don't have to be like, oh, well, would you use this or that? You know, no. Instead, you could just ask general questions. Think about scenarios, play out scenarios, think about movies, book extracts, start conversations towards the thing. It's like, how do you feel about Lagos traffic? Let's say you're building an app that is supposed to tell people about, you know, where traffic is going to be, blah, blah, blah. So like, how do you feel about Lagos traffic? And hear what they say. Listen to what they're saying and what they're not saying. It's very, very important, because at the end of the day, your positioning statement is going to be defined by how your clients define their problems. At the point of awareness, your positioning statement is very important for your awareness phase of the funnel, right? Because you're thinking at the awareness phase, your client, your potential customer, they don't know your name, but they know their problems. And so when they Google their problems, will you pop up? What words are they using to describe their problems? They're not going to be like, I'm looking for Blessing the strategist, except they already have encountered me in one way or the other. But imagine they don't know me, they've not met me before. A good example is during lockdown, my husband, I begged him, I was doing one of these type of sessions, and I was like, babe, but we were very hungry. Can you imagine? I wasn't really showing on the IG live that I was doing. And I was like, please just help me blend pepper so that as soon as I get out of here, I'll make that my banging stew. And he's like, yeah, sure. And I don't know what possessed my husband, but he went and he was cutting pepper first before blending it. And I was cutting the pepper 20 minutes after my live, and I was about to make this beautiful stew. On fire, we could not concentrate. We're just like, what did we not try? We Google, my hand is peppering me. How do you take away the pepper sensations from the hand? If we had different, we're putting different. And I said, okay, we tried all the different examples. It wasn't working. I said, okay, let's tune it down and say, how do we do XYZ for Black people? And so we did until we eventually found somebody who said honey can do it. So we use honey. And after that, it worked. And when it worked, immediately we could go to the about page of that honey brand, because it was apparently on their blog, right? How to use honey to quench the burning sensations, like, and they explained everything. I was like, okay, cool. That's when our brain is now calm. The pepper has calmed down, you know, so we can now go to the about and be like, oh, so what is this honey brand about? What's their name? Well, you know, because now the burning sensation has calmed down. If you have headaches, you don't want to hear anything. You either go and sleep, or you take Panadol, or you eat food or something, because at that point, you can't even assimilate whatever we're saying on this call, no matter to you, because you have headache, and that's the most painful thing you have now. A lot of you have asked those questions here. Mofe has answered, Blessing has answered, Funsho has answered. You know, you go back and you Google us, you would check our social media profile, because a burning, nagging feeling has been taken away. Same thing, same exact thing happens with your customers. So ask yourself, how would my customer define this? Listen to them. Sometimes throw some of your ideas and be like, what do you think about the product that does da 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 da? See what the product does, say what you do or something. How would you, like, in what scenarios do you see yourself using this? How would you describe it to somebody else? Like, use your customers, pick the vocabulary that they're using to describe features, to describe problems, to describe solutions. All of these things is going to really change and how you refine your positioning, right? last example would be Addition. When it first started, it was built by Cortec guys, right? And the way they would describe it is a no-code tool for creators. And we noticed number of customers or users were not increasing. No-code tool for creators, no-code tool for creators. Creators did not care what no-code meant. It's like, what the hell is a no-code tool? Why do I need it? It didn't mean anything to them. But when we said you can build a one-page site in 15 minutes, it meant something immediately. And so immediately they found, okay, one-page site in 15 minutes. Do I need it? Do I not? So what is your offering to your customers? If you go and read all our bios, we have offerings. I tell people, I help you find your unique, yes, I'm a brand and communications, whatever. But what that means is that I help you find your unique selling point, your unique voice. I help you find your unique selling points, give it a voice and help you communicate it to your target audience, your customers, your this, your this. I break it down to make sense to somebody else. So when you are defining your unique selling points, speak to your audience. They're the core of where you're going to find that out. Ask yourself, is the unique selling point in my process or in my product or in my skill? Do I have a supporting skill that makes me unique? You don't have to, last example, there is a doctor, he's a dancing doctor. They call him the dancing doctor because he dances. And sometimes we're always like, oh, multi-potentialites, I can do this, I can do that. They don't connect. Ask yourself, what if I could connect this part of myself to this service that I'm offering? Could that become the unique thing? Bedge goes to wedding. He's a photographer, but he tells stories of those weddings. And because of the way that he tells stories, the way that he chronicles it as almost like a film, and the hype that comes around it, that's his unique selling points as a photographer. It's not just that he can snap pictures, because other people can snap pictures, but it's the extras that comes with it for the storytelling that makes him really, really special. So ask yourself, are there supporting skills that I have that would make me stand out? And how can I coin this in a statement for my audience in a way that they understand? And I think that that's going to be a good game changer for you. But DM me, I'm going to send you the article and it's going to be more explanatory.
All right, amazing. Thank you so much. Okay, go on.
Strategy, I want to pick a question here quickly. Opeyemi Emmanuel, he said, can you work alone as a strategist or you need to be part of a team? If you need to be part of a team, what team do you need to have around? So quickly, I think one thing that haven't been said today is the many hats that strategists wear. All right. And also it's kind of, sometimes it kind of, people kind of have that depending on the background they are coming from. So I personally am a designer. So I may be coming to the table with some kind of skills, but for other people, they're like what's made a copywriter or like a comms, so they are coming to the table with another art. So basically what I'm trying to draw from this is that as a strategist, you need to wear different art. You can work alone. All right, I've worked alone for a long time, and there are three things that I think there are three arts I think you would need to wear as a strategist that is working alone. One, you need to be a good facilitator because you are going to be running multiple workshops. Trust me, you are not going to, one workshop will not be enough. You probably run 3, 4, 5 before you can actually get to the root of this strategy. You need to be a good facilitator. You need to be, number 2, you need to be a good communication person. So you need to be able to translate whatever they are telling you into a strategy document, something that you can present back to them that, okay, this is what your strategy looks like. And number 3, you need to be a good wordsmith. And that's very important because as a strategist, you are coming to the table with, okay, this person said this. In the workshop, you're going to be unraveling a lot of things. Now it's time to prepare the documents. You are going to come up with the first writings like, okay, the positioning statement should look like this, but it would be very much impactful and beneficial if you are someone that understands words, if you are someone that understands messaging, all right, if you're someone that understands the verbal expression or how verbal works, because words are very important. You can write a 3-year long sentence for positioning, and which can be kind of like you can kind of chunk that statement into one sentence, which would also make sense. So you need to be very good at wordsmithing things. If you're a copywriter, good for you. That's super, because you are going to, because strategy documents are quite, people are going to be reading it. So they need to be able to get the point of everything in the strategy. Like they need to be able to get the points in like without breaking a sweat. All right. So number one, be a good facilitator. Number two, be a good communication. Be very good at communicating when facilitating a workshop. And number three, you need to be good with words. That's then if you are privileged to maybe you have some money to throw around, you can hire people. There's this niche, maybe it's not popular in Nigeria, but the agency I work for, we have a facilitator. So what they do is just come on workshops, they prepare my robots. A lot of like, it's a different thing on its own, facilitating. Then we have people who work with words. These are guys, these are people who are good with actually articulating things. So, but if you are a person, you can wear all of these hats and you can also be a good strategist. But if you are chanced, or if you have some money, or if you're serious about kind of taking your strategy to the next level, you can call one or two people. Someone will help you jot things down while you're facilitating workshops, so that you can devote time to actually communicating with the clients and also join out insights. Then the other person can work with you post workshop, to make sure that the strategy is impactful, to make sure that it's apps and the wordings or the text, the statements are good.
On point.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for your answer, for sure. Thank you, everybody, especially the panelists. Thank you for your time, and thanks for the patience of waiting till the end. I appreciate you, Blessing, so much, and thank you, for sure, also for being here. So once again, for everybody else that has been on this panel, please tweet something. It might be more than one thing that stood out to you, and tag the person who said it. Don't forget to use the hashtag, the Strategy Jumpstart. And for more learning and insight, please follow every one of these people. Like I shared a resource library earlier. If you're on the Telegram group, I shared the resource library earlier, and all the panelists are on the resource library, their websites, their social media handles. So it's very easy for you to access them. Yes. So thanks everybody once again. We'll see you again very soon. Thank you for coming. Have a great weekend. Bye.